this is Rick Kaselj from exercisesforinjuries.com. So today I put up a photo on the Exercises for Injuries Facebook fan page, and I asked people to kind of highlight what this lady was doing wrong when it came to the plank. And you all had awesome answers when it came to what she was doing wrong in the photo. So what I wanted to do was a video, kind of in-depth video, kind of talking about the different things to consider when doing the plank. And I wrote out my list, and it ended up being 14 points that you need to remember when performing the plank. So I'll get Orsi to kind of go through it, and I'll end up chatting about the key points to remember with each thing when it comes to the plank. So we're starting off with the head. So I want the head in good alignment with the rest of the body. So I can end up having the hand or the eyes looking between the hands. I don't want Orsi to tilt the head back and look above. That ends up putting a lot of stress in the neck. The other thing I'm looking at is I don't want her to reach forward. Yeah, I don't want her to reach forward with her head. I want her to keep her ear and shoulder in good alignment, because if she ends up reaching forward with her head or dropping her head, that ends up putting more stress on that neck. Also, with the head being in good position and the neck being in good position, we're strengthening those neck muscles. So this ends up being an excellent exercise for people recovering from a neck injury, because you end up strengthening the alignment that you want, and you end up strengthening the stabilizers of the neck. The next thing I'm looking at is I'm looking at the wrist, elbow, and shoulder area. So how I end up doing the plank is you're on the forearms and the hands are on the mat. In this position, your wrists end up being in a good position, good and neutral, which is what your wrists are happiest being in. The next thing I'm looking at is I'm looking at the elbows. So Orsi will get you to take a break instead of doing a 5-minute plank. So if I end up looking at the wrists are neutral, which is what I want. Elbows, I'm ending up having the elbows at 90 degrees. That's the strongest position that they end up being at. The next, when it comes to the elbows, I want the elbows a touch either directly underneath the shoulder or a touch below the shoulder. And that's so that there is less stress on that shoulder joint. If I end up having that elbow above, it ends up putting a lot of stress on the shoulder joint, so a touch below. And the next thing I end up getting people to do is almost like pull down when they're on their forearms in order to activate their lats and their scapular muscles, those scapular stabilizing muscles. So I'll get Orsi back into that planking position. So we've ended up got in good head position, good neck position, hands are down, elbows are at 90, elbows are just below the shoulder or directly under. She's kind of pulling. Other things that I'm looking at is I want to see how those shoulder blades are. So I want to build tension around those shoulder blades. So Orsi, I'll get you to kind of round out a little bit through that mid-back. So with Orsi, I can see with her shoulder blades, she wings a little bit. So I would probably have to need to work on her scapular muscles a little bit. So that's kind of something that I would incorporate in her exercise program. Now looking at the thoracic spine, I want that mid-back, the curve of the mid-back to be normal. So I don't want it to flatten, I don't want it to arch down, or I don't want it to round out. I want it to be normal for her. The next thing that I end up looking at is I'm looking at that low back area. I don't want it to be overarched. I don't want it to be rounded out. I want it to be normal for her. Then I want all the muscles in the abdominal area to be tight. So I want her to brace that core, activate that core, and be tight through that core and abdominal area. Okay, I'll get you to take another break and I'll keep chatting. So we've kind of ended up moving through that whole body. So the plank ends up being an excellent assessment exercise because it ends up showing you so much. when it comes to that person's stability, how the joints are working, how the muscles are working, how the muscles are stabilizing the body against gravity. Now, I'll get Gorsi back into that plank position, and we've kind of gone at that low back and core area. The next is to kind of look at the glutes. Since I'm pulling with those hands and activating the lats here, I want to make sure that the glutes are tight, because they end up protecting the hip and that core, the core and back area, and the lats end up protecting that back area as well. When it comes to the hips, I want the thigh and hips to be straight. So I don't want the hips, like I don't want the bum TPing, or I don't want them to arch down. I want those hips to be in a straight line. We end up having the glutes activated. When it comes to the knees, I don't want them hyperextended, so overly straight. I don't want them bent. I want them to be nice and straight. And then we end up looking at the hip position. When it comes to her feet, I don't want her feet together. I want to have the feet apart at a point where the foot is in line with that hip joint. So I don't have the feet together. I don't have the feet too wide. There's the odd time to have it too wide, but when it comes to the regular plank, I want the foot to be right underneath that hip. And when I look at the foot, I want that foot to be at 90 degrees. So I don't want the toes way back here or the toes way out in front. And then I'm getting the person to hold that position, and it could just be for a hold, like 1 or 2 seconds, and relaxing, or getting them up and holding that position for 5 or 10 seconds. So there you go. That's kind of all the key things when it comes to my perspective, when it comes to the plank. So it ends up being, if you're a fitness professional, ends up being an excellent assessment tool to kind of look at how people are at keeping alignment against gravity. So you're looking at that head position, you're looking at the neck, you're looking at the wrist, you're looking at the elbow, you're looking at the shoulder, you're looking at that mid-back or thoracic spine, you're looking at that scapula, you're looking at that low back area, you're looking at the core, you're looking at the glutes, you're looking at the hip joint when it comes to flexion extension, but also hip abduction and adduction. You're ending up looking at the knee, you're ending up looking at the foot, and you end up looking at the ankle. So you can see there's a lot to look at and see when it comes to the plank exercise. So next time you end up going through the plank, go through that 14-point check to see how you are doing the plank or how your clients are doing the plank. So this is Rick Kaselj from exercisesforinjuries.com. Make sure to swing by exercisesforinjuries.com. There's a good chance that I have a video, interview, or a blog post that'll help you overcome your injury or pain. Secondly, if you're watching this on YouTube, head up above, hit subscribe. What that'll do is you'll subscribe to the channel, and every couple days you'll get a video where I talk about overcoming injury and pain. Thirdly, head down below, hit like, and leave me a question or comment. So this is Rick Kaselj from exercisesforinjuries.com saying take care and bye-bye.